Top 20 tobacco fragrances. This is a counterpart to another video that's coming out either right before or right after this one, which are cologne fragrances that feature tobacco. This one is like 80%-ish designer and I don't know, 20% niche. So these are tobacco fragrances that are original fragrances rather than being inspired by something else. Although, as you'll see, there is some inspiration going on in these. And I'll say, as I did in the other video, tobacco is such a unique note in how many ways it can show up. It can be dry and leafy and woody. It can be damp and rich and sweet. It can be more cigar tobacco, pipe tobacco, even chewing tobacco. There's a wide range of ways and textures and feels that it can present, as well as being mixed with so many different things that change the game again. It probably is my favorite fragrance note, but I have a few that I say that about at different times. So this is going to be a list of excellent fragrances. There's only a couple in here that I'll say that I don't like this or that about them. Most of these I love. I have tried to rank them in order from my least favorite to favorite, but it gets very difficult in the top 10, very difficult. But I'm doing my best here, folks. So we're going to get into this, but remember to give an absolutely smoking click to the like button if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I got videos coming out every couple days. Let's begin. First up, this one is actually a tobacco fragrance, but it's got a lot of orris in it, and it's got some lavender, some aromatics in it, so it doesn't really smell like a tobacco fragrance. I'm talking about this one right here, Versace the Dreamer. It's really a powdery, aromatic fragrance. There is some overlap with things like some of the Ralph Club fragrances or even Reflection Man. So there's that sort of powdery, aromatic vibe with a little sweetness, good bit of freshness. That's the kind of fragrance it is. And I don't really love this fragrance. I've worn it a few times. I really just hang on to it to throw it in a video every now and then. But some people love this fragrance, and it's actually usually very inexpensive if you do want to pick it up. Next one. This one I actually smelled in a store and bought, so I didn't even blind buy it. And I wore it a lot for the first year or so that I had it. I probably got it 4 or 5 years ago. I'm talking about John Varvatos Vintage. It is a throwback fragrance, leather, tobacco, spice. There's also a rhubarb note, a prominent rhubarb note, which I like rhubarb in some fragrances. One of my favorite new releases from last year, Phantom Parfum or Elixir, whichever the newest one, I really liked that with a little rhubarb. This one, the rhubarb came to be a little off-putting to me, but if you like a throwback fragrance, with some leather, some spice, and a good rich, deep tobacco, it actually does smell great. It's a very cozy fragrance, kind of nostalgic, reminds me of a lot of the things that were popular, say, in the 90s. So again, John Varvatos Vintage. Next, another one that's got a little bit of a throwback feel. That's because this one did come out in the 90s. I'm talking about Burberry London, still a fragrance I associate with Christmas, because it has sort of like a gingerbread kind of baked goods, molasses sort of a feel, but it is actually a tobacco dominant fragrance with a good bit of sweetness, a good bit of spice. You've got some ginger and some pepper. You've got some leather, some tobacco. There's a little bit of overlap between this one and John Varvatos Vintage, although there's also some real differences. But you know, nothing wrong with this fragrance. It's just one that I really only end up wearing a couple times a year, usually between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Again, Burberry London. Next one definitely has a throwback feel as well, and that's not a bad thing. This one doesn't list the note of tobacco, although I suspect it's got tobacco, or at least it smells a whole heck of a lot like tobacco. I'm talking about Bogart Pour Homme, and this is basically a barber shop twist on something like Xerjoff Naxos. Now, I would imagine that Bogart Pour Homme came out before Naxos, but don't quote me on that. I haven't actually looked it up. But this one is very similar to that kind of honeyed tobacco, warm, more fresh spicy than warm spicy. base, but with a very clear aromatic barbershop, almost like the smell of shaving cream layered on top of it. Usually you can get this for really cheap. It smells great. It's one you could wear pretty much every day, any situation. Bogart Pour Homme. This one I think is one of the ultimate cheapy pickups, and one that you should own if you don't, at least if you're trying to build a collection. Maybe you want to get 15 fragrances that are diverse. This is a really good cardamom, fruity tobacco fragrance, and it's this one right here, CK Shock by Calvin Klein. You can get this usually for $20 or less at the rack stores. It's got in the opening something that will remind you of La Nuit de l'Homme, but there's also a little bit of like a fruity vibrance, and then you go into kind of a spicy, warm tobacco fragrance. It's a great fragrance. I've probably used at least a third of this bottle or so, something like that. And, you know, definitely one that I can easily recommend for the $20 you'll pay for it. Really good stuff. Next up, one that's discontinued, and I have a little 15 ml travel spray here because it's all I could get. I didn't want to pay $150 for a full bottle, so I got this for like 20 bucks on eBay. I'm talking about John Varvatos Dark Rebel. Very unique fragrance. Leather, smoke, tobacco, rum. I think it's rum, some boozy note, maybe whiskey. But it is a dark bad boy fragrance. It's got a little bit of an animalic note. I believe it's castoreum, giving it a little bit of an animalic twinge. It's not something I could wear every day. It's something I could wear, you know, once every couple months in certain situations. There's actually a really inexpensive dupe called Tahari Black that smells very similar that you can get for dirt cheap at the rack stores. But anyway, check this one out, Dark Rebel. All right. Next, this one was sent to me by one of you, by a viewer, and I had never even heard of this one. I had barely even heard of the brand. This is Elonzo Friday Edition. Now, this is another one that does not list tobacco as a note. However, this one is actually a dupe or heavily inspired by Dolce & Gabbana The One, which is a cardamom tobacco, which is going to show up soon in this video. This one I would just say off the top, there's a little bit of a twist that will remind you a little more leaning towards La Nuit de l'Homme than Dolce & Gabbana The One. Probably 20% La Nuit de l'Homme, 80% The One. Beast mode strong. I'm talking 10 to 12 hours. It projects for a good 3 hours. Very good stuff. If you like The One, it's a great alternative. But it's not actually a dupe. You know, this is a name brand, and they do some pretty good fragrances. Elonzo Friday Edition. Next, we've got this one right here, which is a classic, and I think still deserves all kinds of love. It still smells great. It's still a great seller. People love it. It's a compliment machine. I'm talking about Paco Rabanne 1 million. This stuff is tobacco, leather, vanilla, cinnamon. It's got all the goodness, and there's a good bit of freshness off the top. I think it's lavender, but there is a clean nature to the opening of this one, surprisingly so. You know, I went a year or 2 or 3 without wearing it, started wearing it again, and I was like, I never realized what a clean fragrance this is, because when it came out, it was so much sweeter than everything else on the market. I just thought of it as a sweet, spicy, but this is actually quite a versatile fragrance. It's, you know, 12-hour, long-lasting. It's got great projection. Still a great pickup, in my opinion, the original 1 million. Now we're moving into stuff I like more and more and more. This one right here, Dolce & Gabbana The One EDP. I've gone through so many bottles of this through the year, this and the EDT. It is a rich, warm, spicy, cozy, tobacco, cardamom, citrus fragrance. The opening is gorgeous. Just the way all of those notes work together. It's wonderful. It's been called the greatest date fragrance of all time. It's also quite powdery. Cardamom can come across powdery sometimes, and it does in this one. So anyway, this stuff is awesome. I don't have any real complaints with performance. You know, it's good 6 or 7 hour performer on me, and that's no problem. The One EDP. I have here a little bottle of the One EDT, but this is like an 8 or 9 year old bottle with great performance. Dolce & Gabbana The One EDT. And this is the one that I got a hold of first, right when it came out. And I actually prefer the EDT over the EDP. I just like the way it acts in the air. The sillage, it's very three-dimensional. It's very attention-grabbing. You know, everybody says newer formulations have terrible performance. I think it just works with my skin chemistry. Even newer formulations, I'll still get 6 or 7 hours out of. This bottle, I get a good 8 hours out of. So again, Dolce Gabbana, the 1 EDT, it's awesome. Very similar to the EDP, other than more the sort of nuance of how it behaves in the air. Next, we'll go with this one. This one's a classic, still one of my all-time favorites. I absolutely love it. The original Spice Bomb. This is citrus, woods, spice, and tobacco. It's a pretty woody fragrance, one of the most woody in the line. I have the entire line except one of the discontinued ones, maybe 2 of the discontinued ones. And this was the one that started it all. It's still super versatile. It smells amazing. It's a compliment magnet. I think anybody, any age can wear this, and in my opinion, you can wear it almost anytime, anywhere. Might be a little too sweet for 90-degree plus outside, but other than that, this stuff is like the one Spice Bomb. If you just need to get one, this could be it, the original Spice Bomb. And one that's real similar, I mean, it's also real different, but it's in the same family as Spice Bomb, is a new pickup for me. This is Tumi Continuum. And this is a warm, spicy tobacco fragrance. It's got a lot of the same notes as the original Spice Bomb. There's a little bit, the way the spice comes across in this one, I would say it leans a little more towards kind of that like Big Red chewing gum or red hot candy kind of hot spiciness in the Tumi, similar to like some of the infrared flankers of Spice Bomb, but this is a great, inexpensive, high quality designer tobacco spicy fragrance, Tumi Continuum. We're moving along and it's getting better and better, man. This is like, oh, so good stuff. It's hard to rank them. From here on out, I love all of them. Another Spice Bomb flanker. I don't have all the Spice Bombs in here. That would be overload, but I do have a number of them in here. This one is Spice Bomb Infrared EDP. I wore this last night. You know, it's one I just fall in love with all over again. It's got this this red fruits emphasis, as well as that kind of red hot spiciness, mixing with a lot of the DNA of the original. There's still some of that woodiness. There's that rich, deep tobacco that comes across in here. And it is similar enough to the original that you would never, you would always know that it's a Spice Bomb fragrance. But it's also got enough distinctives that it's not redundant to own the original and this one. Again, Spice Bomb Infrared. Next, we'll go with this one right here. This was one of my favorite releases of recent years. Really, the whole Lamal line continually surprised me. Lamal Labo. This is Lamal Elixir. And it is a honey, tobacco, mint, lavender, vanilla bomb. Great performance, excellent quality, super compliment machine. This stuff is awesome. If you like warm, spicy, sweet fragrances, this stuff is killer. So is Le Parfum, Lamal Le Parfum. You'd be happy with either of them. Parfum doesn't have the note of tobacco though. All right, now we're moving into the top 8, and again, I'm in love with all of them. Super hard to rank, but we'll start with this one right here. A new release from 2024, Spice Bomb Dark Leather. The longer I've had it, the more I like it, and the more I've worn it, the more the leather is distinct. Now, I wear a lot of Spice Bomb fragrances, and they can sort of blend together if you just wear one after another. But I've been wearing this one a couple times a month, and the leather is actually there. It's not as dominant as I would have liked it to be, but it is quite distinct. To me, this fragrance is like you took the original Spice Bomb, you take Spice Bomb Extreme, and you mash them together, and you pull out the vanilla note and replace it with leather. To me, that's exactly what this one smells like. If you were just going to get one Spice Bomb, this one right here encapsulates pretty much everything people love about the line. Again, Spice Bomb Dark Leather. It just smells so very good. So I might want to check that one out. With this one, it is a love. It's one that is unfortunately now discontinued. I do have a couple good dupes, so I don't know if I'll pick up another bottle of this one, but This is Azzaro Wanted by Night. It is a warm, sweet, cinnamon, fruity tobacco fragrance. You've got what Azzaro calls fruity notes in the opening, mixing with this cardamom and cinnamon kind of spiciness. And then you go into this warm, rich honey tobacco. It is sexy, it's attractive, it gets compliments, it lasts 12 hours, it projects very well. I have no idea why they would discontinue this one because it is so very good. Again, Wanted by Night. And I'm telling you, we're just going into the absolute gold right here. There's a reason this one's the most beloved in the Spice Bomb line. It's just that good. This is Spice Bomb Extreme. They rolled back the aromatic spiciness just a touch from the original, and they added vanilla. And this is it's a smooth, sweet, rich, powerful. My bottle is a 14-hour performer. It projects for 4 hours. It is a monster. It's a beast. My bottle's about 3 or 4 years old. I've never had an issue with performance. One of my best performing fragrances, period. And it is so very good. I love this stuff. Spice Bomb Extreme. The only Spice Bomb I would say I like more than that one has got to be this one. I think this is like the sleeper of the line. This is Night Vision EDP. And this one right here has the rich spiciness from Spice Bomb in spades, but it's a little tricky and it is a tobacco hearted fragrance. It really is all about the tobacco, but there is this sweet green apple that is in the opening. It actually reminds me of the fruity notes in Wanted by Night, and a lot of people say that. But there's also this pistachio note, this sort of dessert gourmand sweet note. So you get a lot of sweetness and fruitiness in the opening, but then about 2 hours in, this powerful spiciness starts to radiate off of your skin, and it becomes this powerful, sweet, spicy bomb. And this is another one, easily 12 hours performance. It is a beast, and I love it. It's my favorite Spice Bomb. Again, this is Night Vision EDP. Moving into the niche fragrances in the video, I didn't put them at the top because they're niche. It's because they are currently my favorite, I would say, out of my collection. And I'll go first with this one right here. This one is a monster. Whenever I saw that it came out, I had to pick it up. I paid way too much. I got it right when it came out. This is Mancera Intense Red Tobacco. And it's basically red tobacco with the oody ashiness rolled back and with leather dominant. They could have called this Red Tobacco Leather Edition. That would have been, to me, more appropriate naming. But it's very similar to Red Tobacco, but with prominent leather. It's a little smoother, I would say a little easier to wear, and I would say probably not as beastly. It's still a 12-hour fragrance, but it is a little more subdued, but it's still a monster because the original Red Tobacco is one of the strongest fragrances probably ever made, and this one is just a beast mode fragrance. You can get it now for about $100, which I think is a steal. Intense Red Tobacco. Next, we're going to go with one that is super impressive. One of my most impressive niche fragrances from the house of Nishan. They do extrait de parfum fragrances, and this is Fan Your Flames. This stuff is incredible. In this one, you have coconut, rum, tobacco, tonka bean, oak moss, and Chinese cedarwood. And what you get in this one is a multifaceted, layered experience. It starts out with that coconut rum. You think you're going to have a tropical, maybe summer-focused experience, but then the tobacco starts to come out. The spiciness starts to come out. It reminds me, not because it smells alike, but because it does a similar dance off of your skin as Raja Parfums, that's hard to say, Enigma or Creation E. It's a similar kind of fragrance profile, but this is like the niche quality of this fragrance will absolutely impress you. If you have a nose for that kind of thing, you will say, wow, this is artistry. This is, the chemistry in this is mind-blowing. So again, Fan Your Flames. If you like tobacco, sweet, spicy, dark fragrances, this stuff is fire. The last two in the video, I do have to tell you that there is probably some kind of, what I would say is novelty bias. These are my newest pickups, and so I am intrigued by them. And a year from now, they might not be at the top of the list, but right now they are. One of them is this one right here from Fort Manley. This is Late Harvest. This is a cherry tobacco fragrance, and it smells like ripe cherries. And, oh, it smells so good. Ripe cherries, and this is, some would say, that this is gross or whatever, but there was a time whenever I used to chew tobacco, like out of the pouch, and there is a certain rich, damp, dark, sweet, sugary tobacco that you'd be familiar with if you've ever chewed tobacco before. This one is like rich, ripe cherries and that damp, sweet tobacco. The only thing I'll say about it is, so far, I'm struggling with performance on this one. What I see online is the performance is okay. I think maybe my bottle needs to macerate. I've only had it a couple days, but as far as the fragrance profile goes, it is amazing. And so again, this is Fort Manley Late Harvest. Finally, this last one, this is a brand new niche pickup. It's from the house of Histoires des Parfums. This is Prolix. This is only a 15 ml bottle, so it came in sort of a funny little box here. And the fragrance itself comes in this little shiny bottle here. They got almost like a book spine on the edge of the bottle. But this stuff is super impressive, dark, tobacco, rose, oud. It's spicy. You've got notes of cardamom and ginger giving this rich spiciness. You've got a couple kinds of rose, giving an almost kind of intoxicating sort of a vibe to this fragrance. It's super impressive, super intriguing. And again, it could be because it's new, but I am blown away by this fragrance currently. Then in the base, you've got some real dark patchouli, tobacco, and oud. And so this one might not be for everybody, but man, it is absolutely for me. Again, this is Prolix. And so I would love to hear from you. What are your favorite tobacco fragrances? Maybe your top 3. If there's one I don't have, drop a link down below. I'd love to check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to give that smoky click to the like button if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel. I'm Justin. This is Sillage Scents.